Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Better Bots. Today we're going to be talking about how to improve your email deliverability in less than 10 minutes. Now these are, a little bit of a minor tweak, a little bit of a minor improvement, but any improvement we can make, we're always going to make, especially when we're doing email marketing. So full transparency here, the tools that I'm using Gmail. That's who I send email with. Google Domains, that's who hosts my domains. And then Gmail Genius is the app that's actually sending the message on behalf of me. And Gmail Genius right now does only integrate with Go High Level. So that's just full transparency of the tools I'm using while doing these tests. But the principles really don't change. Despite your domain provider, you should still have all the records and policies in place that we're going to go over today. And just a quick note, the list unsubscribe message header is actually controlled by the app sending the emails, such as Mailgun, ActiveCampaign, or in our case, Gmail Genius. And that's why I wanted to make sure you know what tools we're using to actually send these emails that we're using to test our score with. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive on in. All right, so we're using Mail Genius, which is one of the more popular mail testing softwares out there, and it's free. So I just did two tests, and you can see today is 5/5, May 5th. That is today at 1:30. Well, I guess it doesn't say the time, but around 1:30 Eastern. So I just sent this from my Quentin at CapriAI.us. I got a 94 out of 100. I sent this using my Gmail Genius app. And so this is exactly what you would see if you were using our app as well. So let's just look at what these test results say. So the first thing is Dmarc Authentication is not set up using best practices. So it's basically saying I don't have a domain or a Dmarc TXT record on my DNS records. And so it's basically saying it's not super secure when you don't have any Dmarc record set up. So we'll come back to that. Your domain does not use a trustworthy suffix. So my domain is .us. I wanted .com, but unfortunately it wasn't available. So that's just what I bought, and I've had it for years because, as you can see, domain is mature. So there's not much I can do about that really. At this point, I already bought the domain. It's just what suffix was available. So we're going to ignore that. We're going to always know that based on this, the highest score we can ever get is a 98, not a 100. But let's come back to what we can control, and that's the list unsubscribe header. So this is everything that we've gotten using the Gmail, or I'm sorry, I actually used Gmail to send this one, and then this is using the Gmail Genius app. So as you can see, they're pretty much the same thing. Like it's basically like sending it from the Gmail app. There is one significant difference in the headers, and it's basically saying that it was used through the API instead of through the Gmail app right here, HTTP REST, named unknown by Gmail API. So this is the only thing that's different in our app versus using Gmail itself, like going into your desktop and logging into Gmail and using it. There is no header there that says that it was referred by an unknown party through HTTP. So that's really the only difference. Doesn't seem to be making too big of a difference on the spam score, but that's the only raw difference I can tell. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to fix these issues, and we're going to see how it fixes it live. So I'm going to add a list unsubscribe header. So the way that I would do that is I'm going to go to my agency account. So I'm going to go ahead and log in with Go High Level. I'm going to choose my client acquisition account because, oops, if I spell it right, that's the account that I was doing these tests with. And so this is my portal here. And so for the unsubscribe header now, I'm going to include, and I'm just going to include my root URL for right now. Because if you include a different domain in your unsubscribe header, it doesn't like that. So I'm just going to include my own root domain URL right now. And then, of course, in good practice, what you would actually do is have an actual like /unsubscribe, URL here or something like that. But for right now, the root URL is good enough. So I'm going to make sure that I include that header. So now that one's included. And then what did it say? The other thing I could do was, my Dmarc record. So now I'm going to go on over. My domain is hosted by Google Domains. So I'm going to go to domains.google.com, and I have a lot of domains. And I'm going to come on over here, and it's very simple what you have to do. So you go to your DNS, and you can see I don't have anything in here that says Dmarc. You see I have a lot of apps, a lot of C names, a lot of A records and stuff like that, but nothing in here that matches what it's telling me I need to have, which is dmarc.capriai.us. So let's go ahead and fix that really quick. So let me just add a underscore Dmarc record. So I'm going to go here, manage my custom records, and I'm going to create a new record, call it underscore Dmarc. And then this is gonna be a TXT record. Make sure that's very important. You have a TXT record. And there's basically two important lines you have to have. So the first one is gonna be Dmarc1. So V equals Dmarc1. And it tells you in here. So V equals Dmarc1 is what you should have. And then the other thing you should have is the P tag. And the P, if you really want to know more about it, Google tells you what it is, but it's just a quarantine method for whenever Google's system gets suspicious. And so it's very important that unless you want it to be super strict, I always put a semicolon, and I put P equals none. So what this means is, don't worry about it. I have a Dmarc policy in place. I know that this is a thing, but don't worry about quarantining or suspending users if they're not authenticated as they should be. So this is less secure, obviously, but you're going to have way less filtering on your inbox. And so basically, this is really, you should only have this to be either quarantine like that or suspend if you want to keep a really, really secure internal messaging like Gmail account. That's really the only time you should do that. Other than that, just click none. So that's about it. So we're going to click save. We're going to add that record there. And it's going to take a little bit of time for it to update. So I'm going to pause, and while it does, and then I'll come back. All right. So once that's updated, I'm going to go ahead and get a brand new MailGenius tester account set up here. So I'm going to get a new email. I'm going to come on back to go high level. I'm going to create a new contact here and call it mail tester 2. Put that guy there. And wait 1 second. Save. All right, and then we're just going to make sure we got the same subject, same body, signature, everything as the other ones. I copied everything exactly as it should be. So let's go ahead and send it and see what happens. So we'll send, and then we will pause and wait for it to load. All right, and we finally got our test to load. And you can see same date, same email, but we got about 4 points higher than the other two. And if we look at why, again, like I said, my domain suffix is a .us. It'll never be any better than what it is, just because that's the domain I could buy at the time. And then my Dmarc authentications is exactly what I was talking about. So it says my Dmarc policy is set to none. So you should have it set to reject or quarantine. Sorry, I said suspend, but it's actually reject. And you can read through more of this if you want. But it's really complicated. But I mean, a 97 out of 100, that's about as good as I'm going to get. And then of course, if I had a more trustworthy domain suffix, this would actually be a 99 out of 100. So yeah, that's just a little insight on what we've been learning since building this Gmail Genius tool. If you want to see how this compares to Mailgun, please feel free to try it out and let me know. But this is what you can expect when you're using OAuth 2 to authenticate your messages instead of SMTP. So I hope this helps some of you, because this is all still applicable to SMTP if you're using SMTP to send. These things that I did today are within your control. So just make sure you control what you can. Otherwise, if you have any other questions, please let